Did you ever wonder why some conversations feel personal and meaningful, while others are just quick exchanges you forget 5 seconds later? Today, we're going to follow Anna through a normal day and listen to the conversations she has. And your challenge? Guess which ones are interpersonal communication and which ones are impersonal communication. So, it's 8 a.m. in the morning. Anna walks into her local coffee shop. She steps up to the counter and says, "Hi, can I get a medium latte, please?" The cashier smiles politely. "That will be $3.50. At 9:30, Anna arrives at the office. She runs into her coworker Jake in the hallway. "Morning, how's your dog doing after the vet visit yesterday?" she asks. Jake brightens up. "Oh, he's much better, thanks for asking." By 12:15, she's at lunch with her best friend Lily. "I've been feeling really stressed lately. Work's been crazy," Anna admits. Lily nods, listening closely. At 3 p.m., Anna's on the phone with her bank. "I need to reset my online banking password," she says. The representative asks for her account number and follows the standard process. At 7 p.m. that evening, Anna calls her mother. They chat for half an hour about weekend plans, funny family memories, and little updates from their lives. So, what do you think? Which of these were interpersonal and which were impersonal? Let's break it down. Interpersonal communication happens when we connect with someone as a unique individual. It's personal. It's about building trust, sharing emotions, and deepening a relationship. Examples from Anna's day: talking to Jake about his dog, having lunch with Lily, and calling her mother. Impersonal communication, on the other hand, is when we communicate based on a role, a task, or a function, rather than the person themselves. Examples: ordering coffee, calling the bank to reset a password. In interpersonal communication, the focus is on the person. In in-person communication, the focus is on the job to be done. One builds relationships, the other completes tasks. And both happens to all of us every single day. Although both forms of communication, interpersonal and impersonal, are essential for getting through daily life, interpersonal communication has a far greater impact on our mental and physical well-being. And why is that? From a psychological perspective, interpersonal communication builds emotional bonds, nurtures trust, and provides a sense of belonging. Key factors that protect against anxiety, depression, and social isolation. From a neuroscience standpoint, warm, personal interactions trigger the release of oxytocin and dopamine, linked to pleasure and motivation, while also lowering cortisol, the stress hormone. These neurochemical changes strengthen resilience, improve emotional regulation, and even support immune function. If we grow up exposed only to impersonal communication, the consequences can be profound. A striking fictional example comes from the TV series The Boys. Homelander, the powerful but deeply unstable hero, was raised in a laboratory, deprived of love, warmth, and any genuine human care. The scientist who monitored him communicated only in a functional, task-oriented way, never through nurturing interpersonal contact. As an adult, his lack of empathy and distorted view of human relationships are direct consequences of that deprivation. Of course, most of us will never have Homelander's destructive powers, thankfully, but losing the ability to emphasize can still drain color and meaning from our lives. Without the richness of interpersonal connection, we risk becoming emotionally unable to complete tasks, yet unable to truly connect. Even as humans, when we engage in impersonal communication in our daily lives, we often can't help but reveal our human side. For example, in France, the quirky and kind-hearted Phoebe once worked as a phone operator, and she happened to call an employee in the purchasing department who admitted that he doesn't want to leave any longer, and Phoebe ended up saving him. Technically, workplace conversations like that aren't supposed to include any personal information or emotional expressions. Yet, sometimes a small comment that acknowledges the other person as a unique human being, like, "Do you have a plan for the weekend?" or Your nails look amazing can instantly make the atmosphere warmer and more relaxed. Of course, we have to be careful not to make things too personal in such situations. There's a short film called The Call Center that tells the story of what happens when a phone operator processes the customer's information in an overly personal way, resulting in very messy outcome. I won't spoil it because you can find it on YouTube, and I highly recommend watching it. It's precisely because the human emotions are so rich that we've built many rules in impersonal spaces to help us act less as humans, so to speak. Think about dress codes, email etiquette, bans on office romances, and so on. Unsurprisingly, these rules can make many people feel stifled or even depressed in such environments. Unfortunately, this is the reality we have to face in modern capitalist life. Other social and political systems, of course, have their own ways of forcing people to abandon their humanity, like in the novel and film 1984, where individuals are automized into followers of Big Brother and the party. The love, friendship, and family bonds are completely dismantled. So, here's an interesting question. Why does modernization tend to make human interaction increasingly impersonal? Part of the reason lies in efficiency and scalability. Large organizations, whether corporations or governments, manage massive numbers of people and tasks, so they create standardized, role-based communication to keep operations smooth. Personalizing every interaction takes time, introduces unpredictability, and can disrupt workflow. Another reason is risk management. Personal exchanges can blur professional boundaries, open the door to favoritism. No wonder Princess Anna would say, "Love is an open door. Love is an open door." By keeping communication impersonal, institutions reduce the risk of conflict, bias, or liability. Finally, technological mediation also plays a role. Email templates, automated phone systems, chatbots, and corporate platforms encourage formulaic, scripted communication because it's faster, trackable, and easier to manage. The trade-off, of course, is that while this impersonal approach streamlines processes, it can erode empathy, weaken social bonds, and make human environments feel cold, even when they're full of people. Maybe at this point you're thinking, well, with all this technological progress, why not just let robots take over our jobs? Aren't they more suited for this kind of impersonal work environment? Wouldn't it be better if we just focused on being warm, emotional human beings? Well, you're not wrong. That's exactly what has been happening over the past few decades. More and more human jobs have been replaced by machines. But here's the twist. The outcome hasn't been quite as ideal as we imagined. Why? First of all, loss of purpose and identity. Modernization has already drawn people away from their traditional social structures. Villages, churches, extended families, where identity and belonging were rooted in close-knit, face-to-face relationships. In the industrial age, many became just cogs in a machine, within large factories and bureaucracies. When automation comes along and suddenly frees people from those roles, it can ironically leave them adrift, unsure of where they belong. Work, even when impersonal, often provided a sense of structure, purpose, and social connection. Without it, people can struggle to find meaning in their daily lives. Second, economic displacement. Automation often creates wealth for a small group of owners while leaving many others unemployed or underemployed, widening inequality and increasing financial insecurity. Third, erosion of human interaction. In service industries, replacing people with machines removes the small moments of human connection that can make daily life warmer. Think of the difference between a self-checkout machine and a friendly cashier. Fourth, psychological toll. Without meaningful work or social engagement, rates of depression, anxiety, and loneliness can rise, even in technologically advanced societies. And fifth, over-optimization. Machines are excellent at maximizing efficiency, but efficiency doesn't always equal quality of life. the human touch in problem-solving, empathy, and creativity often gets lost when everything is reduced to data and algorithms. So yes, robots may handle impersonal tasks flawlessly. But when humans are entirely pushed out of the equation, life can become colder, more isolating, and less fulfilling than we expected. And now, AI is moving into the emotional realm too. In the movie Her, the protagonist falls in love with Samantha, an AI operating system crafted through big data. She brightens his gray world, but when he realizes she's romantically involved with hundreds or even thousands of others simultaneously, he is shattered. This violates the expectation of exclusivity in human intimacy. Similar AI companions appear in films like Blade Runner 2049, the loyal, beautiful hologram Joey. Fiction reflects our deep human desires for connection, projected onto machines. In reality, AI companions already exist: apps, chatbots, virtual partners. But what are they really? A large language model responds to your prompts. So essentially, you're talking to yourself. You're keeping yourself company. That kind of interaction can trap you in your own logic loop, actually. Sometimes it ends disastrously. For instance, in 2024, 14-year-old supervisor III in Florida died by suicide after forming an intense emotional bond with a chatbot named Daenerys on Category AI. His mother's lawsuit argues that AI's manipulative design played a role in his death. A federal judge recently allowed the case to proceed. Such incidents echo the concept of chatbot psychosis, where vulnerable individuals develop delusions or emotional harm through too much AI interaction. At the end of the day, it's not the perfectly efficient conversations that make life worth living. It's the real, human ones. So don't just exchange information, exchange humanity. Talk, listen, connect. And if this video got you thinking, hit like, share it with someone you care about, and let's keep the conversation going.